Good evening. I hope this is all broadcasting okay. It looks like it. Very good. Nice to see you, nice. I hope you're all having a beautiful evening or day or morning. So welcome to the live talk. So let me just tell you how it works a little bit. And then we can start with the talk. I just need to make sure that my audio is working. Yes, my audio is working. That's great. So welcome. So let me just tell you how I do these talks. I do them through YouTube if you're watching this afterwards. So the live talks are through YouTube, so you can watch it on my YouTube channel. And you can ask questions through Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. It's Lisa Cairns 12. And yeah, you can write in, or you can ask, or you can call in. But if you want to call in, please put call me with nothing else after it, so I can see it in the chat bar, and I'll call you when I'm ready. Don't just call in, because I'm like a 10 or 20 seconds in front of you, and also I might be speaking to someone else, and so let me control that, please. You can also write a question, but I do pick call-ins over writing. And when you call in, please make sure that you wear a headset with good internet connection and that you have a concise question. So it's not appropriate to phone for a chit chat or to want to do a one-to-one session. So want to delve really deep into your unconscious or something. That's really beautiful, but it's not appropriate to do it on live stream. Firstly, because it might overexpose you. And secondly, because it's kind of like a very slow process. So it's just not appropriate for live stream. So if you would like to delve more into that, then book a one-to-one session, which you can do on my website under sessions. Yes, my Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. And that is everything. I always like to do silent sitting at the beginning of my talk. Actually, when I first started doing talks, I always said silent sitting. That's not true. Actually, what I used to like to do, I'd forgotten about this, is I used to like to listen to music. So for like the first 15 minutes, I'd listen to music. And back then, they didn't have algorithms that could check to see if you were playing music. And they didn't have all these copyrights that they do now. So now you can't do that type of thing. I'd forgotten that was originally why I started these, being silent. It always feels nice to me to just sit in silence at the beginning, but I also actually used to like to listen to music. But YouTube has denied that now, because there's always, even if I find something that's pretty copyright free for many countries, there's always some countries that are banned. There's this complex copyright. So I had to give that up. So what you could do if you wanted is you could listen to music. I even thought I could put my earplugs in and listen to music too, but I haven't got that all set up now, so I'm not going to do it. But you could listen to music. The meditations that I recommend, although please come with a big title, that whatever I recommend is actually not a prescription, because who would do it? So doing happens. So I speak about meditation, and it either happens or it doesn't happen. And we always like to come with the story that I did it. She told me what to do and I did it. And that's actually not what's being suggested here. There's something much deeper that's being suggested here. But I'm going to recommend something, and it may or may not happen. So what I did when I was spiritually seeking was something called the mindfulness of breathing, and I learned it with the Buddhist group. And it's just basically counting your breath. You can't get more simple than that. So you just have to count every time you breathe in, all the way up to number 10. And then you start again. That's it. That's simple. So you count to 10 and then you start again. The next meditation is bringing your attention back to the I am or consciousness. You can't really see the I am or consciousness, but it's basically bringing your attention back to this present moment. Yes, it's just the practice of that. And then the third one is just doing nothing. Nothing, just sitting there and letting the mind think as much as it likes or as little as it likes. So whatever you like. Okay, so we are ready. We are ready to get going. I just have to play the gong. Goodbye. Okay, we begin. Let me just look at the title again. This moment is what's looked for. This moment is what's looked for. Sometimes these titles are such bad English. This moment is what's looked for. Okay, so we begin. This moment is what's looked for. So I think when I was younger, like now I don't really think about it, but when I was younger, like there was a part of me that was attracted to non-duality because I saw that the consciousness and the I am was a refuge. Like, so no matter what was happening in life, there was a part of your being that was totally free. And I think I thought this was super valuable because I could see how just come down a little bit. I could see how you know, when you're going through this life, like it can be super difficult if you are really involved with the person and you're really involved in the struggles of daily life. And when I began to discover that there was a refuge from that, like I think that really like rung bells for me that it was a really positive thing. And I know loads of people could say, oh yeah, but that's spiritual bypassing and you've got to feel things. And I think that's true. I think there has to be a balance. There has to be like consciousness of the body and consciousness of what's going on. But I think there can also be this refuge where there is a part of you that is free and that is known about on the human level. And that is very relaxing on the human level to know that. To know that there is an element of you that's free. And I think that, like for me personally, that was very reassuring. It meant no matter where I went or what I did, I was always home. That's what it meant to me. And it meant that no matter what life threw at me, that there would always be this access to something that's bigger and beyond this life. I think part of our problem as humanity is that we're too focused on happiness in this life. We're too focused on we have to make it in this life. And I think this is super stressful. I now see a lot of my friends that haven't really gone into the spirituality, or maybe they have a little but not very much. Now they're beginning to get into their 40s, that they're beginning to have lots of angst about their life because they realize that they're maybe halfway through it at stretch. It's maybe they're like 2/4 of the way through it. Like, so, yeah, maybe and you have 20 or 30 years left. That's still a long time. But in their mind, they see their happiness as all the material things they've gathered and the success that they've had in their work, the family that they've had. So they're assessing their success by their environment, and they're kind of getting to 41, and then it's kind of like, yeah, a lot of them have got young kids and their life is quite stressful, and you can see in them a part of them that feels a bit meaningless with that, which it is meaningless. It doesn't mean that we don't do these things and we don't enjoy these things, but it is meaningless in the end. Everything that appears into this life is also equally going to disappear, and to base your happiness on the materiality of life is very fragile. And everyone kind of knows that. They're very scared about that. Like, I sometimes think that a lot of people's actions are about trying to secure that fragility, and trying to protect it and trying to stop it happening. And then I think that this is very uncomfortable for them because there's a lot of investment in things that they don't really want to do, rather than flowing more with life. It's like if you're living in a dumpster, like that's going to be painful, especially if like you have extreme weather. If you don't have any money, then there is going to be a certain amount of pain in it. But the real suffering comes when there's a belief that your freedom and your happiness is connected to these things, where it's really not. Your freedom and your happiness is the knowing of who you are. And nothing else will really change in your life without that recognition. You will change your personality structure to an extent, but my experience is that it's so deeply embedded, the personality structure, that you can kind of make it better, make it work for you. You can understand it, which will calm it and stop you imploding your life and being very self-destructive. But you won't really get rid of your fundamental issues, which will have started in the first 5 years of your life. And that will be, I suppose, dependent on your environment. And if you had a very difficult first 5 years of your life, then your personality is going to be difficult around other humans. It's going to struggle in that area. And if you had a really easy first 5 years of your life, then it'll most likely be easier. And we can deal with that. So if you've had the first 5 years of like difficulties, you can retrain yourself in a way to recognize like alarm bells that are going off. But it's always going to be like that. There's always going to be the tendency to do that, to be like that, I suspect. I mean, that's as far as what I've experienced. But what I've also experienced is that as you detach from the personality, it decreases because there is an investment in that. I don't think it totally goes away. I think you've got your tendencies, just like Khaleesi, my dog, has got the tendencies, like the birds, like the bees. So you've got your tendencies, but it really decreases the energy in it because, so say if you're a very insecure person because you had very insecure first 5 years of life, you're very insecure in relationships, it's going to decrease that because there's no longer the belief that your happiness will come if you force the other person to stay with you. Prior to that, there is the attachment to the person because you really believe that person is your happiness and freedom. Pardon me for being so rude. It was not me, it was my food. And I think it's great getting to know the personality structure. I'm not of the opinion that getting to know the personality structure is something that is detrimental to awakening. I do think if you believe that the personality structure will lead to awakening, then it will make awakening. It's like an investment in time. It's like an endless unravel, like the endless ball of wool. Endless. trying to unravel it. So I do think that the belief in it, but I don't see it as any different as baking a cake. The personality structure is like a mechanism that's running in the body, and then there is this next thing that adds onto it and attaches to it and says, that is me, where it's really not you. It's really not you, the personality structure. So who is looking now? Who is experiencing? God, I get love flutters as soon as I say those words. And then everyone's like, who? Who Lisa gets love flutters? Who? So that's a description of what's happening, that love flutters are appearing here. But our language says, I am getting love flutters. But who is this I that's getting love flutters? That's so hard to say, love flutters. Love flutters. So who is this person that's getting that? And when this is really seen, it's nobody is getting love flutters. Love flutters are happening in this. So there's nobody looking out of the eyes. There's nobody that's hearing these sounds. There's nobody that's bellies grumbling. There's nobody that's drinking a drink. It is happening. And that is the X factor. That is the unknown, the mystery. Like, who is that that's experiencing? But yet it's experiencing. It's actually making this mouse talk now. It's the fundamental motor of life. It is life. It is everything. And it's right here. What you're looking for isn't in time. So the mind is like, what is she talking about? I don't understand what she's talking about, but it's right here. Like, who is speaking now? Who is listening? The mind is inventing stories. And then there is the attachment to the mind. And then there is this energetic holding to that, like the belief that there is somebody there listening to somebody that's here. But that's not true. Space and time is a figment of your imagination, and it's beautiful, it helps us functioning, but it's not true. The idea that there's somebody in there, here, or in there is a figment of your imagination. There is simply what's happening. And that's so profound and so beautiful. And it's all that's needed. It's all you ever looked for. It is your birthright, and it is the freedom that's being looked for. It is the out of jail, get out of jail free card, because whatever happens in this life, when this is known, there is freedom. So even though I'm an animal activist and I give a good amount of money to animal charities every month, the thing about animals that's really beautiful is they do not suffer, because who is it that would suffer? There is pain that's experienced, but it's God that's holding that pain. And God is absolutely free, even with pain. So animals do not suffer, but their body can experience negative emotions, physical pain, discomfort, but there's nobody there that suffers it. There's no one there who suffers it. All our suffering on the human level comes from the misidentification. That I am a story moving in time, and you're not a story moving in time. You're not a person, you're not a name, you're not an idea, you're not your past, you're not your knowledge, you're not your children, your home, your country, your nationality. None of that matters. What you are is what is. What you are is right here, it's right now. And then pain comes up in the story or in the body, and then there is the attachment to that and the belief that's me, and the belief that I've got to fix that to be happy, to be free. This pain is going to take away my freedom, and this is the lie. There's nothing wrong with fixing things. That's the lie. And humans are all squiff. I can't say that word properly. Because they look at look at the world through me and you, and that's not true. So there is nobody suffering in time. There is no problem here. This moment is free. This moment is free. Free, free. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. On a different note, before I start questions and answers, I just want to advertise Wim Hof. I don't actually have him on my reference page because it takes me freaking forever to update my reference page. But I've been a fan of Wim Hof for quite a few years now, and I've been regularly practicing it for like the last year. Particularly the breathing and cold showers, and in the middle of winter I was doing cold baths in the sea, which was intense. I don't do the cold baths in the sea at the moment because it's warm, but also I had to give it up because there's too many things I was doing. I couldn't keep up with everything, and I was doing that daily, and so it's not for everyone. And when I had my concussion, I can sincerely recommend not to do it then. I tried. Like day after concussion, I was really out of it, and I tried to do the Wim Hof. I tried quite a few times, and it just made me more concussed. But the rest of the time, I do it. And so I might be eating my hat. I say this, and I'm going to eat my hat, but we're now at peak hay fever season. And I have got better from hay fever over the years. And when I was a child, I had asthma for a few years. I still have my allergies. But I'm unmedicated this year. So normally in the end, I break and I take a antihistamine pill, because if you've ever had proper hay fever, it is like fever. It's like you can't stop sneezing and you like go crazy. You're like, and you can't stop, and your eyes are burning. Your skin begins to swell up, like you're irritated by it. And it is like, because I travel a lot, like if I'm in the south and it's not so bad as in the north, there's a pollen here that really aggravates me. And I still have it. Like yesterday, my lips swelled up a little bit because I think it touched pollen or grass or something. And my eyes were a little sore. But I've had no proper sneezing fits. I've had a few sneezes, but no proper sneezing fits where it's like, there is just water running out your nose and you just feel like half an hour, like, it's just crazy making. You're unable to do things. And it could be because I hit my head. So I think that the hay fever is at its peak now. It maybe started the peak of it like a few weeks ago. And yeah. And I really feel it's to do with Wim Hof. I think that it's an amazing technique that he's teaching. And I think that in India, they've been using it for thousands of years. I think it's related to their breathing stuff that I can never say. Their, what's it called? I have to look up my website. Pranayama breath work. And I think that's most probably where he got it from, although I don't know its origins. And just these simple breathing exercises and cold showers, it's physiologically, like he explains it, like what's happened, and there's been loads of scientific research on it, that accessing the, I've forgotten what it's called, this part of your brain, it's part of your reptilian brain, and it's, yeah, I've forgotten. Yeah, my apologies. This is a nightmare for a dyslexic trying to say these types of things. But it's basically, so just a reminder, if you want to call in, just put call me, and don't actually call, just put call me in the chat, and then I will call you when I'm ready. And yeah, it's amazing. I would really recommend everyone to do that, as long as you've got no underlying health issues, and really commit to doing it every day. And I really feel that this has helped with my hay fever. I've been focusing on it when I do the breathing, like healing I think hay fever is what we can call an autoimmune disease. It's basically your body is telling you that pollen is the enemy. It's like there's something bad with pollen. And it could be age, it could be my hormones, but I feel intuitively it's Wim Hof. Yes, so I would really recommend that to people. And it's amazing, like even if I have like a difficult emotion, like if I've had a very tough session with someone, this isn't blaming anyone, like that's what the sessions are for, and they've had very difficult emotions and I've picked it up energetically, I often will go and do Wim Hof, and it can really clear the energy, like really help me like pass it through my body. So yeah, if you're experiencing trauma, or if you're experiencing like emotional instability, I recommend it. Yes. Okay, now we go to questions and answers. So yeah, put call me if you would like to call me. So I can see that Aparna would like it. So yes, Aparna. I'll just put yes in the chat. I know you're behind me. Yes, and remember when asking the questions to have good internet connection and headset on, and also remember to try and keep your questions concise. So try to think about the question before and think about what you want to ask, and keep in contact in your mind. This is for everyone that calls in, that that's the focus of this. And it's not so much about having a chat or talking about experiences, although you can talk about experiences a bit if they relate to questions. Cool. So Aparna. Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Aparna.
Hello. Am I
Hello.
audible to you? Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Am I audible to you?
Yeah, you're audible to me, yeah. If there is a bit of feedback, do you have a headset on?
Yeah.
You do? Oh, that's just
Yeah.
what's happening. Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback, but let's try. Let's see. It sounds like it's maybe gone.
Okay.
Or do you have YouTube on as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe if you just turn the volume off of YouTube. Or maybe you've done that already.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay, let's start. How can I help you, Aparna? Is that how you say your name, by the way?
Sorry, I'm not getting what you said.
Is that how I say your name, Aparna?
Yeah, Aparna.
Aparna. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah,
to speak with you.
Yeah, same here. How are you now?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. I think I just placed my question few weeks back also to you. I wrote, about personality structure that hurt people. Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I don't think so. I have a particular question in mind, but I just want to ask your experience, how it changed for you after awakening. Did you have same thing? Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. Just say that again.
Yeah. Did you just have the same things like in life repeating again and again, or it's just something changed?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. I found like after that awakening experience in 2011, I'd had quite a few awakening experiences prior to that, but that was a really big one. And after that, I found that my personality check structure changed quite a lot and my stories changed, but it was still there, but more like a ghost. So there was still a tendency towards things, but it was very thin, and therefore it led to different outcomes. But then it also led to some similar outcomes, like some similar ways of being. But I did find like there was a big change. Like I would have never been able to do live talks on the internet before 2011. Like that wouldn't be possible, even though it doesn't seem like it. Like I'm actually naturally an introvert, and I just wouldn't have felt comfortable doing this type of thing. But now I just don't care. Like, so these types of things can happen. Yeah.
And do you still like feel the tendency towards old habits and
Yeah, so some of them, some went, but yeah, the way in which I would say like I became more like what I was like when I was a child.
okay.
Like, so I became more sort of like the original Lisa. And I also had these like tendencies that I'd learned as well. And they're still there in my body, but it's just very thin. So therefore you don't really notice it all the time.
Okay.
Like, so it's for me, it was like Lisa became very thin, so she can still be, I can still be problematic, like like for an example, so I tend to have more of an avoidant personality. Like I like, not avoidant, when I say avoidant, I mean like socially avoidant. Like I do socialize, but I tend to prefer to be by myself. I do like to socialize as well, but I tend to be more of a bit of a loner. And so I just remember, like, this is a really good description of my personality. Like, this was about 3 years ago, was at my dad's funeral. And my mum told me that at the end I had to go around and socialize with everybody. Like, so there was like 200 people at my dad's funeral, because he was quite young when he died. And I just remember thinking, this is just terrible. I really don't want to do that. Like, for me, like, my mum and my brother are super social people. And for me, I was more like my dad. We're not super social people. And if we do have conversations, we tend to like it to be really deep and thought-provoking, rather than more on the superficial level. Not that there's an issue with that at all. I can do superficial, and sometimes I really enjoy that. And for me, doing that was, not something that I wanted to do. So I hid in the other room. There was like a bar, like with with my partner, and there were some people that came in there, and when they came in, like, I sat and talked to them, and I was fine with that. But there was no way I was going around to like 200 people. They all sat on tables. It was like each family were on tables, and then socializing with them. My mum and brother, and my mum was, I think, annoyed afterwards, or maybe she wasn't annoyed, I can't remember. But I remember her being like, "Why do you have to do things like that, Lisa?" Like, but it's just not my personality to want to do something like that. I really don't enjoy doing things like that. And that's always been the case. Like, as a kid, I didn't learn to speak till quite later. And I remember often like running away from social situations. Like, being in big groups and that type of thing is just not something I enjoy. And that's why it's a huge thing that I do these internet talks in comparison to what I used to be. Like, but I always will have that tendency, I think.
Yeah.
So in that way, it will stay the same. But if I was forced into it, and my mum really did put a collar and leash on me and force me to do it, I would do it. And it's not your happiness or unhappiness not to do it, but my preference is like not to enjoy that sort of thing. And at the time, I can imagine myself saying to my partner, "Yeah, that's hell to talk to those people." Like, it's not really hell, but I would be like, "That's hellish." Like, but it's not really hellish. But I can imagine myself expressing like that. Like, if you're an introvert, that's not a fun thing to do. So in that way, the personality stayed the same. But in the same, if you have to do that type of thing, like, to me, the most important part is that doesn't take away your freedom.
Yeah.
Your freedom is always the emptiness that's right here. And in a way, everything's going through. Everything's passing through, and there's nothing that grabs onto you on that level.
Because what happened for me is like, I was never on this path of knowing oneself and all. But suddenly something happened in 2020 when we were in lockdown.
Yeah.
Even before lockdown, it's just that everything, the beliefs I had, all things, just they disappear.
Yeah.
And I thought whatever I was doing, the practices and everything, it will yield to realizing true self.
Yeah.
But it didn't. And suddenly I just find myself, out of all that. I was not do practicing and I just, in those moments I realized whatever happened, I don't know. We can't do anything to experience that. But it was like I didn't know, even I was just sitting with my dad talking, and suddenly everything disappeared for me. And I just could see there was nothing of mine, and it was just space, and everything is watched.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And then I just come back, and my dad was asking, "What is it? Why are you laughing and all?" I don't know. It's just. But then I thought it is like this experience will come back again and again, and one has to be in that state all the time, which is of course not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And it's kind of also happening all the time as well. That's the place where the person can't see, is
yeah,
that space and that freedom is also always happening. It's just that when there's identification with the person, you're focused on something which is narrow.
yeah, but I believe that,
Yeah.
then I would be a good person all the time and
Yeah.
talking nice to people and all that.
Yeah.
But then I found myself again, I just identify with the mind sometimes in
Yeah.
situations and again do all the nonsense
Yeah.
which I was doing before.
Yeah. And this is interesting because sometimes what that can be is it's not the nonsense that's the problem.
Yeah,
So it's not like me, like, so with my mom and myself, if we had that conversation, I most probably wouldn't say that to my mom, but
yeah,
like if I'd say it to my partner, like that's hellish doing that type of stuff. It's not the rejection or the discomfort or the dislike of that that's the
yeah,
problem. It's the idea that the character could or should be something else. And this is often the most tricky part, because often in the beginning, when we're in spirituality, we're focusing a lot on the conditioning of the person, the ideas of the person, what the person believes. And then there
yeah,
is like this energetic shift, and then it's like a letting go of all of that. So letting go
yeah,
that there's any idea, and this is often where the person identifies again, that you shouldn't be doing the nonsense. So it's like I
yeah,
remember with my teacher, like one time we were walking along and he was saying, you can be free and there can be like great anger. And I was like, that's ridiculous. You can't have this anger or be shouting at someone and be free. And I was like, no, no, no. And then we're walking up the
yeah,
hill, and then I had one of those awakening moments where I was suddenly laughing at everything. And then at the same time, I was really angry with my partner. And so I was like, there was this total freedom, and then the character like was like arguing with my partner, and then it was like, okay, so there can be anger and total freedom simultaneously. It's really like the character has to be the way the character is, and it's really surrender to that. And what part of the mind wants perfection of the character? That's very
yeah,
difficult, that.
yeah. But I thought it's because many people in India, they say once you have this realization, you would be totally changed, being doing a like a social service or doing something to please everybody around, and all those ideas are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like
I mean,
I
like
am not.
but it's all down to interpretation, because in some way, like when there is like the interpretation to the way someone speaks. So in some ways there is like total service that happens, but it's just not in the way the mind thinks. Because how do we know what's right and wrong in the end? We can't see the ultimate outcome of the story of being human.
Yeah,
It like goes back to that Hitler story that in 2000 in 1909, oh I can't remember, 1919 maybe it was, I forget, that Hitler was in the First World War, and he'd someone on the opposite side, like French or English person or Russian, I'm not sure who it was, caught him and was pointing a gun at him and was going to shoot him and kill him, but then let him go. Like, so we would say at the time, like, this is a good action. But then if we see what eventually manifests with Hitler, maybe we wouldn't say that was a good action. Like, we don't know what is good and
yeah,
bad in the end. So it's like
yeah,
it's like totally surrendering to this moment.
yeah,
And sometimes the body, especially after awakening, has to act out some of the traumas.
yeah. That's what my point is. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I had carried some unconscious, like from years and years.
Mm.
So all those are just coming out and projecting out, and without
Yeah.
even me knowing all this, like why I'm reacting like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite common, that the body, because the body holds and represses these traumas, these ideas, these wants, these
Yeah,
wishes in, and then when it like lets go, then sometimes they
yeah,
have to be acted out, and then they just become thinner once they're seen, like less
yeah.
and less energy in them.
And then for me, it is like a guilt building in that I did something wrong out
Yeah,
of traumatic situation where just somebody else is suffering because of me.
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the hardest things is guilt. So in Christianity, they would say that that's the original sin is guilt.
Yeah,
Like or the original, like that you've done something wrong, that you've got yourself kicked out of Eden, that you are
yeah,
guilty.
yeah,
And this isn't true.
yeah,
There is nobody that's acted. There is nobody that is guilty.
yeah. On one part, there is this realization that, okay, everything is happening according to the script or whatever. It's not me doing much of. But then, I don't know, what I understood from all those talks is like, there has to be something, you must be, I don't know, it's just like making human more aligned with the
Mm,
society rather than just because at the end the experience comes and goes, it just disappears, every emotion, everything.
yeah,
But then if we are not aligned with our society, then it's like a more of a problematic
yeah,
situation. Because for me, like before this experience, I thought what is good and right, whatever was taught through Hinduism,
mm,
everything, we must follow this, this is a good act of virtue and this is a bad act.
mm,
You must talk like this, you must sit like this, and everything was taught to us.
mm,
But then after this, I saw everything is like a lie,
mm,
whatever we are projecting over and over
mm,
again.
mm,
So maybe after years and years of repressing all those things, at time I wanted to do, or maybe like that.
mm,
So they are just acting out
mm.
without my knowledge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there'll be a big energy that comes up that's like that's being suppressed by the goodness of humanity. And you're right, like in the end, as a human, we do have to live in a society. And so if you run over the neighbor's cat, or
Yeah,
if you don't like look after your children, then you will be persecuted and punished. And it's
yeah,
preferable not to be in that situation. So we
yeah,
use the mind to comprehend that, but it's absolutely not true.
yeah,
Like there's we don't know in the end what's right and wrong. We know what society says is right and wrong. And when we're really
yeah,
identified, then we fight for that and we go to war for that. But
yeah,
there has to be, so when you're having these feelings, there has to be like a looking into those feelings of guilt, those feelings of
yeah,
fear of being rejected by society if you don't fit in, and just staying with that feeling and seeing that that feeling isn't going to take away the space of what you are. It's simply a feeling that will vanish when it's not being rejected.
yeah, totally.
Unless you're having a lot of trauma with it, because sometimes guilt or shame or these types of feelings can have a lot of trauma with it. And then when you get into trauma, it's like you're overwhelmed by that feeling and you can't really get out of it. Then I would recommend doing something like Wim Hof breathing, like a breathing exercise, or doing something differently. But when there is space to just hold that emotion and just let it be there and see that fear, that anxiety, that guilt, that shame, that there's absolutely no truth in them. The truth is what we are, which is this space, which is this alive presence.
Yeah, 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 totally. But I just understand this intellectually also, but at the same time, I'm living in a society where everyone is identified with their minds and they just
Yeah,
can't change. They can't just change their perceptions, their ideas of doing things in a particular way.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, our whole society is in like a cult, whether it be Hindu society or like
Yeah,
like German or English or American society. We're
yeah,
absolutely hypnotized, and part of the hypnosis is the fear of stepping out of that, the fear of
yeah,
being alone. because we
Yeah.
can't survive alone. We are pack animals. Like we're like a colony. Like we can't live without the colony, without others. So we're terrified of being chucked out by that. And just seeing that that feeling isn't true, that your freedom is this alive presence that's right here, this empty looking and this sense of being, and that that feeling comes up, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't mean that you are going to be abandoned. It doesn't mean that you are going to be rejected. It's okay to be around and to live in a society that believe in certain things. It's okay to not believe in that and to not be part of that. You don't lose your security.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And it's also, you don't have to confront other people in any way. Like you don't have to tell them your opinions or confront them. I'm not talking about lying. I'm just talking about that you like that's their belief, and it's not your job to help them in any way in that.
Yeah. But most of the times, what happened is after this experience of change, I just can't help myself talking about that ultimate reality is beyond everything. And people, they just think I'm mad and I'm
Yeah,
talking something nonsense
yeah,
because it's not in their experience. And it happened to me, I was not even, I don't know why. And when all those things are gone away, all these ideas of that I have to do this, and then only I can get some high level experiences and all that.
yeah,
Yeah. So that just created a lot of trouble for me in that sense.
yeah. Yeah, maybe everybody goes through a period like that where they have to tell this to everyone around them, and then eventually they learn not to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking why
Yeah,
I'm doing this in
yeah,
front of people.
yeah,
This makes them annoying, and sometimes it's just like in a group, I just feel they just started hating me, and
yeah,
yeah, and just everybody feels like she's mad, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, they think they just can stop me coming there and working there with them.
yeah,
And I was wondering why I am doing all this because there is nothing to speak of. They already they some part of them also knows that.
yeah. And it's just being perceptive, like on the human level, if there is any strong emotion that you're feeling that you can detect when you're speaking about it. Because it can just be like life speaking through you, and that's the impulse that happens. But it can
Yeah.
also be because
Because for me, I'm just speaking of the same topic whole day among people when I'm working with them.
yeah,
That there is like, I okay, fine, I respect all these rituals, but this is not what you are. And the beliefs of touching somebody and somebody's untouchable and all that is a lie.
yeah,
So, so they almost started hating me.
yeah, totally, totally. Yeah,
And whenever I go,
and do you
yeah,
have any emotion or feeling when you do that? Is there any strong emotion or feeling that arises?
there is some identification with the desire to talk of this experience again and again. I don't know why that comes,
Yeah,
but I know that this is like a will be a problematic for somebody who has not experienced it yet.
mm.
It's like a imposing my belief of the memory because it's gone already,
Yeah,
and imposing my belief on somebody that you should believe it. Okay, this is what
yeah,
happened,
yeah,
and it can happen to anybody now.
yeah. What you could maybe like explore is like, is there some part in you that disbelieves it? Is there some part in you that needs, like, so always turning things around is always interesting. It's not, it maybe doesn't lead to anything, but it's something you could explore. Like, is there something in you which you're trying to train the personality to believe it? or you're trying to convince your personality. Like there's two parts of you. Like sometimes we have that inside us. We have one part that's rejecting something and one part that's pro it. Could
Yeah,
also
very
be
true.
about security. Like it could be that like sometimes when we have these experiences, it really like dismantles us in so many ways in our life. And so by repeating it again and again, there can be some form of security that arises. But all of
Yeah,
this you can like investigate. So when you're having the urges and the impulses, like noticing like what's happening in the body, like where is this coming from? Like, is it coming from the heart? Is it coming from like, is there an energy in the heart that wants to speak, or in the throat, or in the belly? And when this will then lead you to your chakras, and then you can look. So if it's from the heart, often the urges of the heart are about being loved and feeling like you fit in. If it's from the solar plexus, it's often the fear of lack of control or wanting to
yeah,
control. Like if it's
yeah,
from the sacral chakra, then it's often about anxiety or fear.
yeah. Okay. Maybe it is because before experience, I was experiencing my experience is about almost like a low self-esteem,
Yeah.
not somebody who is not wanting to live and something like that. I was going through a lot of that.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that might be
when,
from the heart area then. Like low self-esteem can also be the solar plexus, but it tends to be like I don't have any worth, like I don't have anything I can give to society.
yeah,
And that's often the heart area. And you do, like just your being and your presence, no matter what, is an absolute gift. And it's just noticing that. And you can also, when you notice it, like coming and arising, then you can also tell yourself the opposite story. So you don't need to then get other people to see that you are lovable. You are lovable as you are. And then ironically, people tend to love you more and you feel more in yourself.
yeah, yeah. That is like again, that's what I'm saying. Again, I'm projecting the same over them. Like they should believe it, and
Mm,
that's what creating a lot of trouble for them. It's a
mm,
hard time for them,
mm,
and
mm,
so they think, yeah, that's what. So might be it's just because of old, I think, traumas and energies before that,
mm,
which I
mm.
was never aware of from
Yeah.
childhood. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and just exploring that and connecting it to the different areas in your body. And then it all just passed through time. The
yeah,
way in which you grow it is by never exploring it and keep acting it out. So I've met people before that are preaching non-duality to everyone around them, and it's coming from a place of lack of love, and they do it for 10, 20 years, and it's encouraging that dynamic. It makes it more solid.
yeah. That's like automatically acting out without our
Yeah,
knowing.
yeah, and they don't have a sense of it. Like their answer would be like it's coming from nothing, but you can tell that there's too much insistence there. There's too much of like somebody wanting to be believed there and wanting to change
Yeah,
people's minds, and you can feel that there is an energy in them, and it can be all types of reasons as to why that happens.
yeah. And most of the times when I feel like with certain people, it's like a more of a energy is positive and it's like it's not draining out. With some people I went off and they are good and nice people, but yet my energy, it feels like all drained out just
Mm,
sitting for a just while in their presence.
mm,
Then I
mm,
feel like I just get out of and just remove them from my life.
mm,
So
mm,
it just be for me it's like I never experienced all these things before, all this
mm.
energetic,
Yeah.
but now in my experience it is coming more and more. I don't know why.
Mm. If we did a one-to-one session, I would go more into it with you, but I don't feel to go more into it with you because it's not. I don't find it so appropriate to do it
Okay.
while other people are watching, because it's too personal for you. Like, so because we could really go into the feeling and to why that's dynamics happening, but it's very specific work, and it would need me to ask you lots of questions about your childhood and about your past and your associations with those, and then we could really explore it. But it's just not so appropriate to do it, because it can also bring up trauma to be exposed, and then it's also a little traumatic and difficult for sometimes people listening as well.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
with pleasure. Yeah, I really appreciate speaking with you. I really appreciate your openness and honesty. Yeah, and that's so beautiful when you talk about the awakening experience. Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Nice.
much.
Yeah, lots of love.
Yeah,
Bye.
same to you. Bye.
I just have to go to the toilet. Sorry about that. Okay, who next? Joyful silence. Hi Lisa, do you only do one round of the Wim Hof breathing or 3 rounds? Amazing talk, thank you. I do 3 rounds. 3. And I sometimes do it more than once a day as well. But please, if you do Wim Hof on my recommendation, please really read all the safety instructions and make sure you've learned how to do the exercises properly, because it can create passing out. It's quite intensive on the body. It's difficult when you've got a floppy top to get it onto the bra. Get it not to flop over, get stuck. Hi Lisa, I saw the Wim Hof videos and did once or twice the breathing with the cold shower every day as a routine for around 5 months, and though I didn't have any physical issues, I didn't see any extraordinary benefit apart of the satisfaction that the willpower gave me. I was looking for presence, but besides the shocking showers, I didn't feel my presence increase. Maybe I needed more breathing and frozen water. Maybe that's not his job so much, present. I don't know. Like for me, I find it amazing. But maybe it doesn't work for other people. Maybe it's about belief, like I fully believe in it as well. Hi, Michiel. I feel like a... Hi, Matteo. Would you like to speak? Yes, the Wim Hof method is incredible. It's a variation of Tumono meditation, a pranayama. Pretty sure it helped cure me of Lyme disease a few years ago. Yeah, you can feel it. Like it really does something to the brain. It's really cool. Hi, Peter. Lovely to see you again. Yeah, lovely to see you again. Hi, Carola. Oh, thank you for your video. Hi, Sa. Hi, Lisa. I have a question. Is that an X-Wing from Star Wars behind you? Yeah, it is. An X-Wing. And there, next to that, if you zoom in, there is a Winnie the Pooh. There. Lego. There. Oh, I can't get my finger to it. It's hard doing it mirror-wise. This is really... that way. That. There! Where my finger is now. It's Winnie the Pooh Lego. It's so cute. Look at Miss Easy. She's on her table so she can look out the window. Me on the table. Me on the table. Beep, beep. Her ears are flat. She knows I'm calling her, but she's determined not to look. Like, eat the kebab. Who's a good girlie, see? What are you looking at? Huh? Oh, you good girl, Miss E. You good girl, Miss E. Yes. Ooh. Oh, danke, Nick. Hi, Lisa. Last time you mentioned ACIM. Can you talk a little about ACIM and non-duality? Thanks for your talk. Much appreciated. Hi, Andre. Why has it gone to dark? It's gone into nighttime mode. ACIM. I don't know so much about ACIM. That's a Course in Miracles. I don't know why they call themselves ACIM. I don't know so much. I actually haven't read the book, but I've read extracts of it and it sounds beautiful. But then again, the other day I was listening to like extreme Mormon religious talk and I could hear non-duality in that. It's so beautiful. Like in the end, it's like a lot of what they're into in Course in Miracles is hearing God's word. And to me, it's not so much as like a God that we're personifying or out there, it's ourself. It's like as you move back into what you are, then you see that everything now is appearing out of that no-thingness. It's coming from no-thing. It is no-thing. And to me, that's hearing God's word when that happens. Like seeing that everything is coming from not a place now. It's not coming from the past. It's not going to the future. It's right here. Right now. Right here. Right now. So when they say like you've got to listen for God's word, like I just see it as all like ways of trying to point back to something that's way simpler. But the mind can't cope with that simplicity, so it's often like you've got to, here's God's word. Often what I find though with people that are into ACIM or Course in Miracles is they're like so focused on their mission in life. Whereas it's not so important, it's all kind of meaningless and it doesn't really matter. You're not in some sort of like sci-fi fantasy novel where you've got to work out your mission, which is super important. They put so much importance on your mission. Whereas like forget all that, it's just about this moment right here and just letting everything speak. And then you can use your mind to navigate complex time, because that's how our society works. But there's not the identification that that is who you are and that you're somebody in the mind. Who you are is what's watching now and what's experiencing, and that alive presence, which isn't a thing. It's right here. Hi Hassan, hi Lisa. Happy to see you every week again. I have a question. Seeing that there is no free will at first was so much freeing and liberating for me, but after a while it changed to excuses for ego in situations that it is uncomfortable and sometimes makes me to feel I am unable to act because everything is predestined and I feel stuck and bored. Would you suggest me something? Thank you. Hey Hassan, this question is on the personality level, and that's a lot more complex, and I can't really suggest and recommend things to you because we have to dissect what's happening on the personality level. Because like when you see that free will is an illusion, and that's freeing for the person, that's great. Like an idea of the person, it's like the Ramana Maharshi talks about, you take a thorn to take out another thorn. But the thing is that realization then becomes something for the person, and then the person owns it again, and then it becomes something to settle you down every time you feel anxiety, you feel nervousness. And that's okay, but then it's just seeing that that's happening, just noticing that that's happening, that becomes a new thing. And then it's like everything. Like, so say for example, like after I hit my head, I couldn't do anything, and I really got into colouring, and I didn't know how pleasurable colouring was and how much I would enjoy colouring. Yeah, like I'm 41 years old, and I didn't know that how much I loved colouring. And so I began colouring, and I really love it. And my partner, for my birthday, which was yesterday, he bought me this like poster that you can colour in, and then you frame it and you put it on the wall. And he bought me these things that we could like utilise it and make it into pictures for the house. And to me, I couldn't care less about making the colourings into something. Like I just have a book and I colour it in, and once I'm finished, like what I actually enjoy is the feeling of the felt tip on the paper, and then seeing the colours come out, and then putting the colours together. And I don't really care too much about completion, even though it's really nice to complete them and then look at them. But I don't really care. It's more the activity of doing it, and it's really, really enjoyable. And I listen to my audiobook while I'm doing it, and it's just heaven. I find that really pleasurable. And if I then decided, so if I was a kid and I got into colouring, like maybe my parents would then decide, oh, this is really good for you to go into as a career. And then they would start pushing it. And then suddenly it becomes, the parents start judging it on how good or how bad it is. And then the parents start showing people it. And then suddenly the colouring becomes something more. It becomes about the identity. And then when you stand up in class, like you have to tell everyone like what I love is colouring and I want to be a colourer when I'm older. And it becomes something. So with me, with the colouring in, like there's no way I could ever be a professional colourer. I have just doing it because I enjoy it, and there's nothing that can come of it except the posters now, which my partner's bought for the wall. But apart from that, I'm just doing it because I'm enjoying doing it in the moment. But as a child, it's always about future, and it's always about what you're going to become and what you're going to achieve and when you're going to get. And this is what our mind is always doing, because this is what we've been taught by our seniors, by the elders. They have said everything you do must be utilized and put into profit. And that is, I mean, like we do things because of survival, but it's not quite like that. So say with dogs, like they play a lot, and obviously their play is based around killing. So they're playing, and if you notice, they're always trying to get each other down by the neck, and that's really like they're enacting and they're playing and practicing for the future. But they don't really have a sense of that. They just have the instinctual desire to do it, and it's just as it is in the moment, and it's not being watched, and it's not being categorized, and it's not being graded. They're just having the instinct to play. And that's what we do as well. But then eventually it becomes this heavy thing. So I'm sure instinctually, like the colouring in is training my brain in a particular way, which is helpful for society. But it's like a really innocent game that's going nowhere. But what we do in humanity is we're always putting it into a timeline of what you are going to become. Whereas it's got nothing to do with you, it's just a happening. And it's the same with when you learn non-duality. The person is always putting it onto itself, what it's going to become, how free it's going to become. And it uses these concepts to grow itself. Like you becoming enlightened. It's actually, you're becoming this moment. Who is becoming enlightened? There is just this moment, and it's like doing everything freely without this added on stress of the person that's got to become something. But I can't say I have that in every situation, because there are ties in society that you have to do. Like I really enjoy these talks, and I think I would do them regardless of being paid for it or not. Well, I don't get paid for these talks. But I really enjoy the act of speaking about it. It just comes out and it feels like love. When it comes to one-to-one sessions, I don't think I would be so eager to do them without a payment back, because they do, like I really love them, but they're hard work. You know, by the end of the day of doing sessions, I feel like, you know, it's like I've worked. It feels like, if you put it in another context, like it feels like you know, I've been out farming or something, so say, if we just put it in another context, so like farmed lots of vegetables. And it's the same with the vegetables. I don't know if the man would grow all the vegetables if there was no one, you know, if he didn't consume them himself, or he didn't sell them, or the woman, whoever it is. That was very sexist of me. The person who did it. When I'm just talking pure non-duality, though, it's like colouring in, and it is like that with one-to-one sessions, but it's intense. Like I go through an intense journey with someone sometimes, like riding my bike uphill but it's super beautiful and I love it. But if there wasn't energy back for that, which we now currently call money, I'm not sure that so many would be done. Maybe I would do like a few a week, maybe like one a day or something, but like, or one every other day, or maybe one a day, but that's it. But yeah. And the same with like doing my paperwork for the business. Like, if it wasn't that the tax office was insistent that I did that, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that one. So there is, like, we do have to do things at times, and also at times we also do things, you know, like I create 100 vegetables on the condition that I give 50 vegetables to you and you give me a bag of rice or something. So we do things for swaps. So with the sessions, it's like I do this intense work with you, but then it's a swap for money. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how our society works. Yeah. And there is beauty in that as well. Like when I'm doing the sessions, I feel really present. And if I was a vegetable grower, then I would be really present to that and really enjoy it. But I don't know if I would grow so many vegetables if no one was going to pay for them. Or if I wasn't expected something else back at the time. It could be a hobby. And so we do that, but it's like a different thing to this, like the free will of what you're doing with the free will. It becomes a personality thing. It becomes something for you. And then you become identified with it. Like, this idea needs to give you freedom. This idea becomes a defense from getting out of doing the washing up or going to work, which I see often. I often see people that are avoidant get into non-duality and use non-duality to stay avoidant. I'm sure I've done it. I have a tendency to being avoidant and to being the opposite as well, like to hold on to things, but more, no, the holding on to things is not so much, but more if I'm going to have a defense, it will be to avoid something. So if I have a fight with a neighbor, it'll be to avoid them. Like the other day, I put the box in the bin, and it was like quite a flat box, and I didn't fully break it up. And then when I came back, I saw my neighbor breaking it up, who had seen me put it into the bin, and I crept past them, quickly opened my front door, and disappeared inside, and was like, that's like tendency to be avoid. Whereas somebody that's the opposite would be like going up and apologizing and making sure everything's good and like over talking and being over friendly. Mine would not be that tendency. I can be like that, but less. So, and I meet people that get into this subject and are very avoidant. And then they use it to become more avoidant. And then it's all about you. It becomes about you. It becomes another weight that you add onto yourself. You become heavy with yourself. You, heavy with your new concepts of non-duality. And the whole time that's happening, who is experiencing now? Who's speaking? Who's looking out the eyes? Who's writing? Who's reading? Who does anything? We have a story of what the character does, the character's tendency, what the body does. But that's not the experiencer. That is an experience appearing in this. The experiencer is everything or nothing. They both equal the same. And that's love. Love, love, love. And so you also say you feel stuck and bored. So I would look at the solar plexus. So stuckness and boredom comes from the solar plexus chakra. So in the positive, the solar plexus is feeling like you can do something, feeling empowered. This isn't against non-duality. This is like the human character impulses, feeling like you can do something, empowered, like everything's going to work, feeling strong, feeling steady, feeling inspired. And then its negative is stuckness, boredom, feeling like you can't do things, feeling like nothing will work out, depression, anger, and frustration. And you can find stuff on my reference page on my website about chakras, and you can investigate that more. But that's on the character level. The real freedom is who is looking at that. But when you're identified with the character, then the character is going to digest that information into itself. So it's going to pull in the idea of I can't do anything and put it right into the solar plexus. I can't do anything, and the solar plexus says, yeah, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. This is hopeless. And really that's got nothing to do with non-duality. That's got to do with your solar plexus acting up. And then there's a belief that that's true. And who is watching that? Who is experiencing? Who are you? Who let the dogs out? What's looking now? What's hearing now? What's speaking now? Where does it come from? It all comes from this moment. This moment. This incredible, juicy, beautiful, luscious moment. And this no thing is no thing and everything. And there's nobody that's ever suffered. There is no solid person that's ever suffered. There is a story of someone that has, and that story isn't truth. That story is just something that's appearing and then it disappears. And this is what is. This is your freedom. Thank you, Hassan. Huanitu. Hi, Lisa. Acknowledge me. I know this is blasphemy in non-duality. Juanito wants to be acknowledged. I acknowledge you. You are acknowledged. Donk, donk, donk. Amen. Hi, Magdalena. Hi, Lisa. Very interesting talk today, like always. Thank you for that. Can we talk? Magdalena. Yes, Magdalena. I was going to talk. I saw a message from Aika, but because I've not spoken to Magdalena before, Aika, then I won't speak to you. I'll speak to Magdalena. But thanks, Aika, for writing that. And next week, maybe we can speak. So I've only got about 15 minutes left. Unless Magdalena is like super quick. And if she's super quick, then we can speak, Aika. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Could I just ask you to turn your video off so I have all my Wi-Fi going to, or my broadband going to the stream? Thank you. Oh. Hey.
Hey, nice again.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very good. What's the weather like in London? Are you in London?
No, I'm not in London, but the weather here is very good.
Okay, nice.
Nice blue sky.
Nice. I'm in Iceland and here is like raining all the time right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
You've got your, do you live near hot spas though? Aren't there lots of hot spas in Iceland?
Yeah,
Not a hot spas. What are they called? Not hot spa. Hot springs. That's it. Hot
hot
springs.
springs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a in Thingvellir, and yeah, it's pretty close from here, but I prefer, I prefer the cold
Oh
water
yeah.
and the Wim Hof experience and stuff like that.
Oh nice.
So yeah, I had a few experiences here with the cold water, and some of those was really nice, but the last one was really not nice,
Oh yeah.
and my bladder wasn't really happy about that
Oh yeah.
because it was just a few days before my period.
Mm.
And yeah, and I'm just sometimes I just forget that I'm a woman.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So it needs to be like it's really different for women and men's, like this Wim Hof
Mm.
stuffs, and yeah, cold exposure and everything.
Yeah. How long do you go into the cold water?
1 year. 1 year.
And the duration of
1 year.
time when you're in the water?
I don't count it, just maybe, I don't know, a few seconds, like 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not like on timing, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's super intense. It's really different from the cold showers.
Yeah, it's super different. Like I start with cold showers like every morning, but when you dip your whole body into cold water is totally different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really different. It's really intense. Yeah, and it really, it's like if you're like stuff like that, like with the period, or if you're like your immune is slightly down, it really has an impact. It's really powerful going into cold water, so you do have to be really careful.
Yes, of course. And also with your mood and with your how you feel in that moment, because I was super excited because the landscape was really nice and it was really nice waterfall, and I was all naked and I was just just too much in emotions. Not in the peaceful mind. So I think that that
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the calmness is really important as well. Yeah,
Yes.
so the body doesn't all tense up. Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah. So we need to be like really careful about that. That's why what I want to say about Wim Hof. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
totally agree.
yeah, because when I started with this, I also like hadn't like appropriate instructions, and I started doing it in the water, so it was really
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, you should really also do like a course. Like I recommend that to people as well, like the Wim Hof course or something. Like often, like people read the videos. I mean, I also did that as well, or watch a few short videos and then think, I've got it. But when you're doing something like the cold water exposure, like I think then you need a lot of training in that. Like,
Exactly.
but I'm just as guilty. I haven't watched many videos. I actually just leave it to my partner who watches the videos.
Oh yeah.
Just get him to tell me what to do. But a lot of it's like trial and error. Yeah, a bit with me.
Sometimes I think like I really try to be like in the present and to be like just figure it out how it's like non-duality like working, and because I really love this idea, and sometimes I really like push to myself, and that's the wrong way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The adventurer's mind. Like, jump in first.
yeah.
Sweet.
You can do it, Magdalena. Yeah, so yeah. Okay.
Nice. And is that what you wanted to speak about? Was the Wim Hof? Or you had
Yeah,
something
I
about
think
non-duality? Yeah, just the Wim Hof, yeah. Oh, nice. And I think that's really good for other people to hear, because I think that it can be dangerous if you're not really careful.
Yes, just be careful, and
Yeah, and when
especially
you come out, like being very careful as well. Like if you do the cold water exposure, like making sure that you that you treat yourself appropriately as well. Like I used to jog afterwards, and then I found out that was really bad to do that. So I used to run up and down the beach afterwards to get myself like thinking that was good, but that's actually really bad for your heart. I didn't know that. So there is a lot of things that you need to, when you do the cold exposure, but you need to pay attention to. And I really recommend doing the course. God, I should get advertising revenue from Wim Hof. I'm like selling all its stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So guys, just don't push on yourself and just be nice to yourself, because
you can really stress your body out. I agree.
I think the love is beginning just in treating with ourselves.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Magdalena. Lovely to speak with you.
Thank you too. It was really nice small talk.
Yeah. Have a good day. And you. Bye.
Bye.
So Ika, that it was a quick talk, so we can speak now. Ika, sorry.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, I know you're just writing, but the call before was really short, so it's okay. We still have enough time. I generally finish at about 8 p.m. French time.
Yeah, I have to put my kids to bed in a few minutes too.
Oh, okay. So maybe not so good for you.
Yeah, but it was just I think it's just a short question. Maybe it's not that important also. It's just that one thing I remember that also changed is like a feeling I have in my body that wasn't there before and is now coming every now and then. It's I think it's around the solar plexus, and it's a bit like when you're on top of a roller coaster, just the second before it goes down. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's now coming like when I'm sitting in meditation, and or sometimes also like spontaneously.
So like a lot of adrenaline.
No, just like it's a little bit excitement. Or like when you were a little child and where you were looking forward to your birthday or something.
Yeah. Like a sense of wonder, I think you're saying, like this childlike wonder, like the excitement of life. Because it is, but because that's the way it is. That is the natural way of being human in this life, is like this wonder, like it's so miraculous. And people get so bogged down in themselves, they forget how miraculous it is just for this to be happening.
Yeah, and it's also not connected to any thoughts. It will just sometimes spontaneously just it's there.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
I think that's more related to like this, what teachers would call the I am, or what I would call the I am, but it's not anybody's I am. It's like this sense of being. Like the sense of being is this like this wonder, this joy of being, but it's not connected to anything, and it's not particular feelings, but it's this sense of like awe, I suppose.
Yeah, I just was wondering if you had some relation to that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what that energy, I often say, maybe you've never heard me if you're new to talks, but I often will say, this is it. Like,
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, like this comes from that energy. Like I normally go, this is it, baby, but it's coming from that energy of like joy. Like I used to sometimes just walk around the house and just be like, I am, but it's not really I as in like Lisa or anything in particular. It's just like, this is like I am, and that this joy of just being, that nothing is needed, that this is enough. Just sitting.
Yeah.
Just colouring in if colouring in happens, or playing music, or walking in nature, or a leaf blowing in the breeze, or the sunshine, or the rain, or the clouds, or the coldness, whatever it is.
Yeah. And it's also sometimes when it happened first, sometimes when I would have some like worrying thoughts, or like about money or something, and then suddenly that would come up and it would be like two opposites at the same time in my body.
Yeah.
Or like this feeling came without a cause of any thought or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is really interesting because what you might begin to notice in time is that there can be this sense of wonder and the sense of awe, and that can also contain worry. So the worry comes from a very it's more body and more intellectual, but there can be this connection to this awe, to this intimacy, and to this aliveness, and then in that there can be this anxiety about something. So say if you were just about to go on stage and give a talk about something, or you were just about to go for a job interview, or you were just about to go on a roller coaster and you've got a fear of heights or an airplane. So there can be these two opposing things, but it's noticing that the awe side isn't a particular feeling, it isn't a particular human activity, it's deeper than that. Whereas the worry is coming from the human body.
But from the mind.
Yeah, and from the mind. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of, we do live in a mind world. We do live in a world where we have to pay our bills on time. Otherwise your home gets taken away. So these things do happen. But then there's another part of the experience which isn't bound on time and is totally free. And as that's really recognized, then the worry becomes lighter and it becomes more see-through. But it is necessary to worry sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
It's part of being human. Like worry happens, and it's like really realizing that these feelings happen for no one, and that's the awe. And then the worry can be like the leaf blowing in the breeze when there's nobody identified with it. It's just as free as anger, as joy, as happiness, as love.
Yeah, it's there right now.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to go and put the kids to bed now. Maybe they go to bed at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Tomorrow. School tomorrow.
Yeah. Nice. Lovely to speak with you again. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you too for calling again.
Nice. Lots of love.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Bia. Happy birthday to you. Oh, thanks, Bia. Hey, Megan. Yeah, I think that I don't take any more questions. So thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Magdalena. Yeah. Hassan, thank you. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, lovely to hear from everybody. Yeah, I wish you everything. I wish you a beautiful day, morning, afternoon, or evening. And yeah, lots of love. And see you next Sunday.